and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside Ysn's Running Point on a Monday edition of Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig, I am back and bushy-tailed and better than ever from my vacation. Ty Bartell, you held the fort down all week, and now it's back to Running Point full strength, and right away we have to switch our nameplates because I am Anthony, he is Ty. Don't want that confused. We are going to have a lot on the show today, as we always do, hitting you with great content and great interviews. We're going to be leading off the show with Eric Gruber, the head coach of Cheney Baseball, coming on for a little midweek kind of recap. Coach, I guess the first question that we have to ask all our baseball coaches at this point is, how's it been like handling this weather? I mean, this is an unprecedented April. Haven't been able to get a lot of games in. How are the boys kind of handling, not knowing whether or not you're going to get a game in any given day and looking outside what seems like every day and seeing rain or, God forbid, snow in the middle of April?
I tell you what, that's Northeast Ohio for you. It doesn't get any better than this. To be honest, we've gotten in 3 games to this point in our 4-week season, and it's been trying for our guys. I'm not going to lie. They've been tested pretty much throughout this entire season, anticipating a game and then finding out it's gotten canceled, especially with the young group. They're just hungry to play, and they just want to play. And I think that's kind of been one of our Achilles tendons this year, is just our inability to play. So we don't have that consistency of being out there in the field and just simply playing the game itself, especially for the young group of guys that we have. Because again, just being out there as much as we can is really important for them just to simply learn a game, but they're handling it well. We try to make our practices whenever they get canceled, meaningful, but yet enjoyable, to try to keep their morales up. They've handled it professionally. I will give them credit for that. Our seniors have really made sure that these younger guys stay focused, even though we aren't playing in these games. We have a doubleheader today, and that rain better hold off so we can get it in. That's all I got to say, because our boys want to play. They just need to be out there and playing. But, it's the hand we're dealt, and there's nothing we can do about it. But we just try to make the most out of when we're not on the field, to just simply continue to learn and practice and just get ready for when we are on that field. So it's been trying, but every coach I've talked to, they're in the same boat we are.
I think you're a good voice for this kind of this pool of coaches, Coach, because there's a lot of coaches dealing with this, not getting a whole lot of games in just because of the adverse weather that we've had. But in saying that, let's talk about the few games that you have gotten in and the practices that you have been able to get in. Who are some of the boys on the team that you think deserve some recognition, whether they're leading things in a practice or they're showing up on the field, or leadership-wise or skill-wise? Who do you think deserves some recognition for this team mid-season?
Our senior class, definitely. Noah Cohan, especially when we played in our first game, he pitched 5 strong innings. We wound up playing the 5 game against Latonia and wound up having to call the game after 5 due to darkness. But he pitched great in that game. He gave up just 2 hits, 5 Ks, had just 1 walk in that game. So he has really, grown a lot during his 4 years. Bobby Johnson, who's a freshman, has really taken on the catcher's role really well. And Braden Polk, who is another guy that we were working with as a catcher, who's a freshman. These last couple of games really kind of stepped up and really showed a lot of improvement catching wise. Caden Brown's another one of our pitchers who has, as limited as it has been, has really made the most of it when he's out there on the mound. Jeremy Leeson, who's a senior of ours, who is also our first baseman. Again, we've only gotten the 3 games in, but he doesn't seem to lose track when he's out there on the field. And even in practice, our 3 seniors who are our captains have really worked to maintain a focused level within the practice structure. And that's helped out a lot, especially for our young guys, because they see the adversities. And this kind of reminds us of 2 years ago when we got shut down. We had a great off season and we were just simply dealt the hand we were, but everybody kind of handled it in a professional manner, as bad as it was. And these 3, especially having gone through that, understand that things can be taken away as it can be given, and just really are trying to embrace every moment they have and are just really showing these younger guys how to take care of business. So hopefully when we get out there on the field this week, we can just continue to play ball and just really start to grow and just simply apply what we've been working on in the practices as well. But our upperclassmen done a great job, and just having gone through what they did a couple years ago, I think helped, because they saw how easily it can change. And they just try to make the most out of every opportunity. And that's the one message they really share to the guys. Take advantage of what you have, because it can be easily taken away at any moment.
Coach, with all this adversity that they've had to go through, I'm sure you've tried to keep things light in practice, tried to have some fun times. What have been some of your favorite kind of things to see these guys cut loose and have fun? Some memories with this team so far this year.
We've done like wiffle ball games. They've done some pickup games playing basketball. But I think what it comes down to is some of those things have really become a bonding moment for them. Because for a lot of these guys, they're new to each other. Some of them, they're friends, but then we have a lot of guys on the teammates that really on the team that really just don't know each other. So I think through some of these little pickup activities that we've done, it's really become a good bonding moment for them. And they've really developed and grown into a team amongst themselves, kind of like this brotherhood that we like to preach. Because I shared with them when I used to play ball myself, it was a brotherhood. And that's the one thing I will say that, if anything, these practices have done is really kind of gel them together and just create this little brotherhood amongst themselves, to where now they're starting to just simply learn more of each other, learn more about each other, and just really developing a relationship amongst themselves. And it shows throughout each and every practice. They're kind of picking each other up, kind of picking up on the tendencies of what they're doing, what they may need to adjust themselves. So they're even, in a sense, becoming coaches themselves. So I would say, if anything, it's just really allowed us to build and develop a sense of chemistry off the field that will help us on the field.
We talked last time you were on, Coach, about just this program coming back, just like all the sports programs in Cheney history too. Do you feel any pressures, or is there any pressures that come with that role of being that first coach that kind of leads things back as the baseball program and trying to get this program back on its feet?
I think with anything, there's a lot of pressure with what you do. I understand that at this level, a lot of it's about W's and L's. And I also understand at this level, it's all about progress and what's a direct result of the non-progress itself. So, yeah, I would lie if I would say that we don't feel pressure as coaches with what we do. But I will give credit to our school and our athletic director, to where we understand that we are really at a growing point. We've kind of been dealt some cards that haven't been playable. So we're kind of at year 1 again. But, one of the things we do is we try to take the pressure off of the kids themselves. And we just, through the practices that we run, through the things that we run, they see the growth. They recognize the growth. They know they're going to make mistakes, but we as coaches work to make corrections with those mistakes. And that's one of the things that we've been taking advantage of with these practices, is really just kind of working on that. But, us as coaches, we look every day. What can we do to better ourselves? What can we do to make sure these guys are in the right position to win and compete in each game? And we feel we're getting there. even though we've only gotten in 3 games and, our record is what it is, we're 1-2. And the last 2 games that we played were pretty ugly, but we learned from it. And that was the one big key thing. We learned what we need to do and what we didn't do. And we just work on it in practices. And, the key is when we get to our next game, do we see those corrections being made? So, we put a lot on ourselves to make sure our team is well equipped and well versed in what we're doing. And we just go out there and just play to the best of our ability. And, as young as we are making strides. And I really feel within the next year or two, we're going to start to become competitive. And that's kind of mindset and mentality that we are working to develop within these young group of kids is, losing's not an option anymore. We are here to win and we are here to play the game. And that's the mindset that these guys do have. So they're embracing it and they love it. That's why it's killing them not to be out there right now.
Coach, outside of a couple of teams that have really good facilities that are able to handle the weather, everyone's kind of in the same boat. They're waiting for games to be played. They're sitting there with 3, 4, 5 games in right now. What do you guys think that you are doing to give yourselves an edge going into postseason, going into the last stretch of the season? Since everyone is in the same boat, and it's gonna come down to who handles this situation better, I guess, when you get into postseason. What do you think you guys are doing to give yourselves that little bit of a competitive edge towards the end of the season?
I think the hunger the guys have might be our edge because they felt what it tasted like to win, and they've also tasted what it felt like to lose. And I think just them wanting to be out there each and every day and knowing that they can't, but knowing that we've got 2.5, 3 weeks left before the tournament begins, they're going to take advantage of each and every moment they're out there. So I would say, if anything, it's just that their hunger of wanting to be out there and wanting to get those W's and knowing how it felt when we had that W under our belt is probably one of the biggest advantages, and I'm sure that goes with a lot of the other teams as well. But with this young group, we work on what we need to work on. We've been limited. We haven't had any outdoor practices because it's just been too wet for us to be able to practice outdoors. But I think the hunger for the game, the hunger for the W, the hunger just to play, and just them simply now appreciating each and every moment they're out there and competing at their highest level. So I would say that's probably one of our biggest advantages. And with us only having a couple of weeks, we kind of look at it. This is the final stretch. They understand that, and they're going to take advantage of each opportunity that they're out there.
Coach, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us, I would want to say a mid-season review, but,
Almost like a week 1 review.
But we definitely wish you the best of luck. We hope you get your doubleheader in tonight. We hope, the rest of the week looks pretty good. So maybe you'll get some games in this week, and we wish you the best of luck this season. Thank you so much.
We do. Mother Nature needs to hold off until about 7 o'clock. That's it. Then she can go ahead and rain for about 2 hours, but That's it.
We're hoping for you, Coach. Good luck.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Eric Gruber, the head coach of Cheney Baseball. A lot of teams in his boat where they're sitting there trying to just find a competitive edge, and we saw a lot of teams kind of make tweets about it, make game plans about it. This postseason is going to be one of the most crazy, wacky, unpredictable kind of, because it's all going to be about what teams are taking advantage of this time in the best way. Because you're practicing, you're indoors, you got to find ways to get better in these situations. And the teams that handle it better are going to be the ones that have the advantage going through the final stretch and going into the postseason.
Coach Gruber's a good spokesperson, like I said, for that baseball side of things too, and just like someone that has to try to keep guys motivated through not having a whole lot of games getting in because, you got to deal with the adverse weather. And if you're not a team that has a really nice facility that can house that weather, it becomes difficulties. For the Austintown Fitch Falcons, though, I don't think there's any difficulties as far as the softball side is concerned for weather. They've gotten a lot of games in this season.
Yeah, they're not struggling with getting games in. Coach, right back from Myrtle Beach, welcome home.
Thanks, guys.
Did you get a tan? I think that's the most important thing. One, and two.
Some of it is tan. Some of it's blood pressure of dealing with 24 players 24/7 for a whole week. But in all honesty, our players are amazing, both on the field and especially off the field. They're all players of high character, and they treated this trip wonderfully. And now we're back home, and we got tested pretty well, and we came back a stronger team overall.
Let's talk about this trip, Coach. You had some adversity really for the first time this season as far as the losses go, and having to bounce back from losses. And each time you guys really bounced back quickly and got back to it. What did you see from your team at Myrtle Beach finally having to handle, close games and losses and being able to bounce back from it?
That was it. We really wanted to see as a coaching staff how our players would respond to, not being on the winning side of things. And again, as we go back through the book, we go back through the film, we see how many opportunities we had, and all the players know that those games were within striking distance, obviously, with it being a 0-2 loss and then a 2-3 loss in extra innings. But more importantly than, the losses, we bounced back the next day against a very well and very well talented and coached Paul VI team. And, I felt we really played our best on the last day. And again, it was a great opportunity to see what happens and how we respond when things don't go right. And even when things weren't going right, our players' attitude, their character showed throughout the game that, we're 1-2 plays away from winning both of those games. If, Maddie Taylor coming up with the big leader that she is, it's every player's dream, no matter baseball, softball, to be in a spot to, put your team up. She had 2 on, 2 out and hit probably the hardest hit I've ever seen Maddie Taylor hit. And that's saying something. And just a complete reaction play from Amaya to make that on the pitcher's mound, that breaks that game 2-1 in our favor in the top of the 4th. And it was a shortened 5-inning game. So it'd been interesting to see if we got to play that one through. And then, we had the opportunity against Jefferson, who honestly, I think is one of the best teams that we played all year. Battled them into extra innings, and they just made one more play than we did. But, to come back the next day and really put it all together, it's just a statement to how talented our players are and just their character.
I want to talk about this dynamic duo of McKenna Hogan and Sydney Watts getting a third no-hitter now, doing it out of state too, to showcase that they can kind of do it cross states as well. Just talk to me a little bit about the confidence that you've seen growing in Sid throughout the season, as well as how important you think and influential McKenna has been in getting that confidence to where it is.
Well, I'll tell you, it's honestly big sister and little sister. Both of them are always together. They're always either super happy or super fighting with each other, just like sisters are. And it's kind of, we play mom and dad role with that. And, it's all with a good smile because both of them are just absolutely wonderful people. And McKenna, having the experience of catching Lydia beforehand, really allows her to make Sid feel comfortable on the mound, to make Sid know that she's going to work as hard for behind the plate to really frame and to, catch some of the things that are up in the zone. And I can't say enough about McKenna's leadership with her, and then how Sydney responds as well, because there are tough situations that she's been put in. And, it's really interesting to see her at 14 years old really just lock it in and have that championship mindset and, play as a high D1 player.
I gotta ask about one of the videos that served. There were plenty of videos, plenty of fun moments, but one in particular that featured you that I guess we have to ask about.
I am so thankful that they caught that on film there.
Break it down. You're great at breaking down film for softball. Break down the film of that. What went wrong and what went right.
Well, see, I'm extremely fortunate because the players were kind of shielded from seeing me completely do that back smack, so they only heard it. And I'm not kidding. That's about 25 feet high. And I was going to do a cannonball. I'm not young enough to do a flip or do any of those things anymore. And when I stepped down, it kind of obviously pushed the inflatable down. I slip, I go off to the side, straight backwards, back smack. And I just had to float in the water for 2 minutes. I swear I thought I broke a rib for a minute. So it was hilarious. I'm glad they caught that on film, because then it just shows, we all could have fun, no matter coaches or not, and laugh at ourselves for the moment.
We talk about those games, obviously, too. And the competitive nature of being down there with some other good teams is obviously a fun part. But it's those kind of moments that you live for these trips. Talk to me about how the team bonded throughout this trip and how you think it's going to make you stronger throughout the season.
Well, again, all credit to our players, to our parents. We were just amazing ambassadors down there. That at Shark Wake Park, that obstacle course that you got to see me be so graceful on. That was actually our second time there because the manager invited us back down and wanted to get us back down there at a very good rate for every player and then siblings and everybody, because we represented ourselves so well that they were excited to have another team down there. In terms of other things, I mean, we got to go to Dave and Buster's for a team dinner. We got to do it was about a 2.5 hour scavenger hunt that Tommy Watts, Chrissy Watts, and Tatum Ray set up, going in and out of the building to the beach, everything. And I don't need to do conditioning drills. I just need them to set up these scavenger hunts, because I thought I was going to have to get oxygen for some of our girls, because they like to always tell me, Coach, I just run 60 feet or 120 at the most, Coach. I'm good. And they were red-faced, sweating. It was a workout that they got in, and I'm so thankful that, you know, all of our parents down there are just amazing supporters of every single kid that we have.
Coach, when you come off a trip like that, you have to kind of come home back to reality a little bit and back to the familiar teams, back to the conference games, which are of the utmost importance. How do you kind of refocus and use all the lessons that you learned at Myrtle Beach and get ready for the game tonight at Boardman?
Again, I mean, you know, we have such wonderful players that playing a game is never a concern. They could go out there without 2 weeks of practice, and they're all high-level performers, and we love them for that. You know, so again, it's just we refer to the character, the lessons that we learned, the team bonding, how when we are extremely successful, it's because we are getting each other's back. We are cheering each other on. We're not individuals. It's not about your own success. It's about our success. Those are the biggest lessons. And as long as we keep taking those lessons and not worry about, well, my batting average is this, or maybe I didn't get a hit here, or I could have done this there. Those are all things for after game that you get to review. And, you know, as coaches, we talk to them about it and coach them up a little bit. But, you know, in terms of getting back here, it's going to be the routine and, you know, just having a nice warm up. We're fortunate that we played on dirt throughout the whole week, and then we're heading out to Boardman today, hopefully, and we'll be on a dirt field. And then, you know, it's back to Falcon Stadium there. And, you know, hopefully we bring the lessons that we learned onto the field today and have a good showing.
I got to ask, did the paddles make an appearance down in Myrtle Beach? If not, what was supplemented for them?
We had one paddle casualty. That wasn't because of me. I didn't, you know, they were the one missing might be because of me. I can't confirm or deny that one, but they were out in full force. You know, they said there wasn't enough things to hit them on that they like, so they're looking forward to coming home and creating all that havoc again. But again, overall, the experience of being able to take 24 players down there with a large set of parents and just have that experience to where I got to meet the Groveport Madison coach, and he invited us down to a tournament next year that is, you know, going to be billed as like the top teams in the state coming together for a weekend. So it was very exciting to be down there. It was a great showing. And like you said, now at home, it's just about reestablishing the routine. So plan A is we get to go out to Boardman and play a very, very tough team today. Or plan B is hit the weight room and get back into practice and get ready for tomorrow. So we're set for either which one, and we're just excited to be home and sleeping in our own beds, and me not stressing of having, you know, all of that going on down there.
Coach, we had McKenna on before you guys went down. We tried to get the origin of the paddles or where they're getting them. Tried to help you out. It was a classified secret, but I just wanted to put out there. We tried to give you some knowledge. It wasn't happening. They kept that on lockdown. We tried to do some hard-hitting reporting, but McKenna was strong in her interviewing skills and knew when to say no.
I still don't know how it started. And, you know, I warned the gym teachers that since we had a paddle casualty, they should be watching for the paddles throughout the day here, just in case you see any softball players in the gym, you know, keep an extra eye on them.
Another cool story, though, too, that I saw you posted on the social, on the Falcon softball social, running into Phil and Sue Smith, some Falcons alum, too. What was it like, too, just kind of small world realizing, too, that you run into some Falcons alumni, too, that know who you are from all the way down there in Myrtle Beach?
Well, I mean, it just goes to the saying that we have here at school-wide is once a Falcon, always a Falcon, and I'm a class of 97, so it was wonderful to see just as you saw on the photo that they posted, just the number of years that the Falcons graduated in that family, I think dating back to 77 all the way to 2000. And having them there and then get to talk to them afterwards, they'd asked about, you know, how the town is, how the school is, what's different, what's new. And we got to trade some old stories about, you know, being in school together. And, you know, their daughter came out and we congratulated her on a nice game. She came in relief pitching and did a nice job against us. And so it was just great to see that Falcon family all together, that it's just not limited to the area, that, we have strong connections and ties throughout this country. And it was great to hear some wonderful compliments.
Coach, this is a conversation me and Ty are going to have later on in the show. But because you kind of brought it up on social, and it's why we want to talk about it so much, I want you to kind of start it and get it going. The safety bag issue, it's in Ohio. It'll be in the state tournament. You got to have it in Ohio. It's not mandatory everywhere else. We see it in Division I softball. It's not there, and a lot of coaches have come out in the Division I softball and said, we need safety bags. They're in the Olympics. They're in the international. They're in professional. They're just not in college, and they're not nationwide, I guess, in softball. What makes them so important? Tell us from a coach's perspective. And for people that maybe watch baseball and don't get it, what makes it so important, and why do we need them in softball?
Well, I mean, you're looking at purely a safety issue here, is that, the runner is put in a tough spot to where they want to hustle and try and cross the bag. And, sometimes there's going to be contact, and sometimes it's in fair territory. So we think that there should have been an interference call there. That's part of the game. But in terms of player safety, and it didn't matter if that was our player running or their player running, is that you give them that extra, foot, 18 inches to run into foul territory. You then could avoid a potential very difficult injury, because you have one player that is more stationary, one player obviously with the full force of them running, making contact. That's not a good recipe for any team, and no team wants to see a player lost to injury for that. So maybe trying to incorporate a national rule. I'm very thankful that Ohio has that rule, because it is all about player safety. You don't want to see any player at any level go down because of, what would be a hustle play that they're trying to get through. They're running the hardest that they can, and maybe you're getting a little close to the throw. And, you could potentially really hurt someone, especially with shoulders involved.
Final question for you, Coach, and this one just for the mid-season kind of recap. With this team so full of personalities and so many different personalities on this team, I can attest for, what's one of the goofiest things one of your players have done this season that you can name off the top of your head?
You could take any moment from Sharp Wake Park. They were just absolutely trying to gun the coaching staff the entire time. So we were ducks on a pond, Coach Fiddler and myself. Any chance that they got was they were coming after us. And one of the more funny moments was Sydney going down one of the slides there, popping up, trying to run after me, and then completely wiping out, sliding down, herself falling in, and then dragging one of her players with her. So there were hundreds of moments like that at that park, to where they had so much fun, and they just let, again, their personality shine, to where, any chance that they could get Coach Ward to push them off to do that, they just took full advantage of it. So I think that was payback for making them run when we were in the gym.
Payback. You know what they say about payback? It's a word that we can't say on the air.
Well, Maddie Taylor has a great saying, and at the games you'll see her, she'll do a shoulder bump on me, and now that's caught on with the team. And so Maddie Taylor will always say, never let them know your next move, and then she'll shoulder bump me. And I'm like, Maddie, one of these times you're going to catch me off balance. I'm going to fall down, and people are going to think you knocked me down. She's like, good, I've been in the weight room, So it's all in good fun. I mean, we have such a wonderful group of players. Both they're extremely talented, but we always preach the person over player. And we definitely are so thankful to have wonderful personalities and wonderful just student athletes on our squad.
Next year when you go down, we need a vlog. We need a video diary of the trip.
I think it would be a constant film reel of me getting knocked into water, me getting pushed over at the beach, things like that nature, where it's I think I'm going to live in fear from now on.
His coach Ward in his natural habitat.
Yeah.
Coach, thank you so much for the time. We wish you the best of luck in your second half of the season, kind of going back into familiar foes and back into conference play. Boardman tonight, if the weather holds out. And that's going to be a great AAC matchup. If the weather holds out, I'll be there. So
yeah. Can't wait to see you.
Ty's not hogging you. So
can't get that one. And beat me to it. But
I mean, two powerhouses in the region going at it tonight. It's going to be a heck of a game. I know Coach Muth is going to have his team ready. They're going to be fired up, and we got that good rivalry between us and Boardman, and can't wait to see it played out on the field.
No doubt, it'll be exciting.
We'll see you around, Coach. As always, thanks for the time.
Bye, guys. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Coach Ward, the head coach of the Fitch Falcon softball team, joining us live on Running Point. And that was a great way to start the show. We haven't even been able to talk about results yet or any of the fun stuff we're going to kind of try to catch up on, because I've been out of the loop for a week. Ty's going to have to catch me up on all the stuff that happened last week. But right now we're going to take our first break of the day. When we come back, I want to have a more in-depth conversation about safety bags, because I think it's such a good conversation and people need to understand why it's so important to have them. So we're going to have a little bit more conversations about that. Results. We had Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley winners to talk about. And then we'll kind of preview tonight's games like we always do, some of the big matchups that are supposed to happen tonight, weather pending as always. It seems like that we're always saying that.
We could be debating too power rankings that should be dropping tonight too. So I mean, we'll be debating power rankings and seeing how things might lie out too.
The very interesting things happened the weekend. I'll tease it and then we'll go to break. Something happened over the weekend that hasn't happened since 2016. Find out what it was next on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring. And, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the four words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education, and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you, and so do me and Ty. We go the extra mile for you. As always on Running Point, we want to thank Steve Ward and Eric Gruber for coming on the show today to talk to us about their respective programs. And now, Ty, before we get to Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley winners, with just released on our social media pages a couple minutes ago, let's just go over some of the things that happened over the weekend, some of the results that came in, some of the more interesting results. And as I said before the break, something happened that hasn't happened since 2016. Champion softball lost a league game, and it was to Brookfield. Brookfield beat them 5-3 was the final score. And we talked about Brookfield a lot. They were a 17-win team last year. They went all the way to the district championship, lost to a Matthews team that went on to get to that state championship game. This is a Brookfield team that kind of made everyone kind of look around like what just happened, because Champion hadn't lost an MVAC game ever, because the last time they lost, they were part of the AAC Blue Tier. And the last loss, by the way, in 2016, who was it to? Brookfield. So I got to do some more digging to find out who the last team not named Brookfield was that beat Champion in a league game. I'll have to do some more digging to find that out. But Champion lost the league game for the first time since 2016, and now that MVAC kind of wide open. Now Brookfield the next day went and lost to Crestview. So now you got a couple of teams with one loss in there, because I think Champion's beaten Crestview once, Brookfield's beaten Champion once, and now Crestview's beaten Brookfield once. So
it's like the Brookfield ladies are the ones that keep everything even every time in the conference. And the basketball side of things, they're the ones that are able to knock off Liberty and make everything interesting. And they do it with Champion in the softball row. It's like Brookfield is just sitting there like they have to keep they're like Thanos, keep everything balanced in the conference. And Brookfield just sitting there like we are inevitable every single season. Some big dog team is going to suffer a loss to us at some point this year.
So Brookfield's a mad titan, trying to even up the MVAC with a snap. And, they could have been a really big contenders on this week's power rankings if they were able to beat Crestview.
Oh, if you beat Crestview and Champion back-to-back, that might get you on the power ranking right there.
Well, let's see if they still get on. But, it was almost automatic if they got both those wins. Crestview was able to beat them on Saturday. And, obviously they'll play Champion again. They'll play Crestview again. But I think the Lady Warriors kind of putting on a little bit of a notice to everyone in the area that, hey, we're here. We won 17 games last year. Nicholson's a great pitcher in the circle. We got good pitching. We got good defense. We have timely hitting. We can compete with the best of them. And they beat Champion and they competed with Crestview. It wasn't like Crestview came out and blew them out. So we're going to have to keep an eye on Brookfield for the rest of the softball season.
Previewed this game too, I believe, on Friday, and said that this one could have the potential to get really interesting too. And I brought up that question, and we can kind of really look at it now. Is the loss, is it bigger for a Brookfield win, or is it a bigger Champion loss? Do you consider this loss that bad to Champion? Because, to me, in my personal opinion, and let us know what you think in the comment section. I don't think that this loss is as bad for Champion. I think it's a bigger win for Brookfield than it is a bigger loss for Champion.
If all things are even, and you take away the mystique of Champion and the name and what they kind of bring with their program, just look at this season and both the teams' rosters. I agree with you. I think it's a bigger win for Brookfield than it is a loss for Champion, because this is a really good Brookfield team, right? And Champion's trying to replace a lot of players. They have a lot of young people. I think Carol Weaver will take this and say, I would rather lose to Brookfield now than lose to a really good team in the tournament in May.
I don't remember Brookfield's exact win total, but I believe they were double digit from a season.
They were 17 last year, 17 wins last year. And they were a team that went all the way to the district championship game and lost a pretty good softball game to Matthews, who went on to play in the state championship game. So they were a really good – I think people kind of forgot how good Brookfield was last year.
They're definitely making noise now, too, and they're making a case and are building a resume to get on the power rankings, too.
They returned almost everybody, and they added Anna Reichert, who decided to come out to softball this year, and looks like she's been playing her whole high school career. Had a couple of big hits against Champion, and that's just one of those athletes, one of those senior leaders in Anna Reichert. We've seen her in the volleyball, saw her in basketball, and now we're seeing her kind of come on and just want to show in softball.
Here's a big question for you, Anthony, and I want to get your opinion on it, and I'll give you mine. Which one was the bigger conference win, Brookfield over Champion or Lakeview over South Range softball?
Ooh. See, we saw Lakeview play South Range twice.
Yeah,
so
obviously South Range did get the better of them game too, but that is still a loss in the conference for South Range now.
It is, and it came right after South Range walked off Poland. And last year, Poland was the bugaboo, right? Like last year, South Range lost twice to Poland. They couldn't really figure out how. Coach DeRose talked to us about it. He said, we don't know how we lost that game. We feel like we can come back and win this game. It was a close game. They walked them off. South Range coming in with a lot of momentum. And Lakeview pulls the stunner, right? Pulls the rug out from under him and says, no, you're not going to go undefeated in the league this year. We're going to take you. And now all of a sudden, Lakeview has one loss. South Range has one loss. Poland has one loss. And Hubbard's sitting there in first place, undefeated. Now, Hubbard and South Range play twice today and tomorrow. Today, they're pending. So
that's the beautiful thing is like a lot of these teams are coming back from spring break, and that's what I was saying.
Hubbard has one loss too. First game of the season,
Yeah,
they got walked off.
Poland.
But so, yeah, the Raiders with one loss, Poland with one loss, Lakeview with one loss, and now South Range with one loss, all in the conference, mind you, not overall records. But something's going to give now.
I talked about it last week. These conferences have to get decided when a lot of these teams get out of spring break. And a lot of them are coming back from Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, or coming back from Myrtle Beach, or coming back from Sarasota, Florida, coming back from their spring breaks. And now they got to get into a lot of conference games now.
A lot of big ones, too. I mean, South Range comes back, and they got Poland the next day when they came back from Myrtle Beach. And then they had two with Lakeview. Now they have two with Hubbard. They still have another one with Poland that they have to reschedule. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. And Hubbard's got the bulk of their schedule left because they still have to play Poland again. South Range twice this week. They still got two against Lakeview. Lakeview's got another one two with Poland, right? And then they still have to do two with Hubbard. So the meet and greet of this NE8 schedule, and we talked about in the power rankings when there were four of them in there, they're going to start knocking each other out. They're going to start beating each other up, kind of like the SEC does in softball and college. They're going to start beating each other up, and they're going to separate themselves. And right now, they're not separating themselves at all. They're beating each other. But it comes into this point because we think in the 88 is, okay, South Range is going to be dominant. Poland's going to be dominant. Other teams are going to start fighting claw. That's what we've been thinking the last 3 years. Even the Fitches of the world aren't – they've been showing some chips in that armor. It is hard for these teams to gain momentum and – a groove with the weather that we've seen. They have to play and then they're off for 3 days, and they get to play again and they're off for 3 days. We're finding a lot of really good teams not at their best every night, every out time, because they're not being able to find this little groove to get into because they constantly have to fight the weather. And we see with Champion, we see it with South Range, we see it with Poland, we see it with Lakeview. Boardman's having a tough time. But I think part of it is because it's hard to get into a groove when you're playing one day and then you have a 3-day break and then you come back, you're playing again. How do you kind of find a rhythm in a sport where rhythm is so important?
Yeah, and I mean, it is tough, and that's where it's going to be interesting come the tournament time, which teams are going to be best prepared. And you're going to see it a lot, too, and we're seeing it in the softball realm and in the baseball realm. A lot of these teams are going to start playing double headers.
Same conversation with baseball. It's hard to find a groove. It's hard to find a groove when you're playing one day, you're off 3 days, you're playing the next day. You just can't get into it, especially hitting. Your hitters can't really find a rhythm. And then, I think we're going to see.
You have 3 weeks till sectionals?
Right. For softball, 3, baseball, 4. And I think if you looked at overall, if you broke down every average for every one of our teams and compared it to years past, I think overall averages would be down this year. I think like pitching is, we can have this argument. I think pitching is kind of benefiting from the lack of rhythm of hitting.
We're seeing how no hitters are ridiculously happening right now. Katie McDonald just threw one for Poland the other day too.
Mm-hmm. Katie McDonald's had a couple of hitters. Tori Firth has had a couple.
Caden Sutton threw her second one.
Riley Troy's pitching well. Then we have Columbiana pitching on baseball, just shutting people down. We've seen Ursuline be able to have depth in pitching. Canfield, obviously. So much good pitching, and they're benefiting from the fact that hitters can't really find a groove.
Yeah, when the hitters that are hitting really well right now, and we're seeing them, a lot of them are coming from teams that are playing a lot of games consistently too. But the ones that aren't, I mean, credit to them too, that are able to keep the sticks hot when things aren't going their way too, and they're not able to get a bunch of games in.
You know, I like how you brought up the double headers too, because we're seeing a lot of even baseball teams have to play 5-inning double headers just to get games in, right? Like Cheney's going to do it tonight. A lot of other teams are going to have to do it on Saturdays and things where they don't have to fight the light. 5-inning double headers, we're seeing it happen. That's another kind of notch in the adversity. Like 5 innings, you're not going to get 2 times through the lineup if you're not, rolling.
Yeah.
You might get 1 time through the lineup, maybe 2 if you're hitting pretty well. 3's a stretch. So you got 2 shots to look at this pitcher, and that's it. And we know that most of the big hits come after 3. So yeah, they're going to be a lot of teams scratching their head and saying, "Oh, if we got one more look," kind of like Fitch was in Myrtle Beach. They had to play a 5-inning game. If we got one more look.
If some of these baseball teams too, you can't really do it with softball, but with the baseball teams, if they have lights too, you might see teams do 4 and 6 o'clock double headers during the week too. Just trying to get a couple games and do 4 and 6 o'clock 5-inning double headers during the week, just for the sake of getting baseball games. When you talk with guys like Coach Gruber, where he has 3 games in for the season, like you said, and 4 weeks till the start for baseball, 3 weeks till sectional start for softball, and these teams don't even have double-digit games under their belt yet.
And here's another question, Ty, that I'll bring up, and I want to hear from people. I want to hear your opinion. Is it right to sacrifice 2 innings of the game to get games in? Are we disrespecting the sport to say we're going to play 5-inning doubleheaders? Because, like we said, that's different. It's kind of like when baseball said we're going to play 7-inning doubleheaders in the MLB, and people were really not happy about it at all. Is it disrespectful to the sport to say we're going to play 5-inning doubleheaders and that's it? I mean, I get it. People are trying to get games in, but at the same time, does that win carry as much weight when you won in 5 innings?
Let's talk about that and then pair it with the question too. Is the start time of early April to late March the right time to start baseball and softball in a season? And if not, what is the solution to that? Because, I mean, at the case of doing 5 innings, I mean, obviously you want to be able to play the game well within regulation too. But it's like at this point, I understand where teams that you just want to get a record, some sort of experience, games against different looks, different pitching in at this point. But it's unfortunate that you do have to sacrifice 2 innings of a game too, because a lot can happen in 2 innings as we can see too. That's 6 outs per team, and getting those 6 outs is a lot harder than you think too in the baseball and softball realm. So it is unfortunate, and I don't like the fact that we take away from it, but I understand why we are, to try to just get these games in. But I don't know what the solution is. I mean, let's talk about a solution of what you can do to try to curb the weather and the cold that you're going to get in Ohio in March and April.
Obviously, you can't change the weather, right? There's no one building a weather machine that out on the top. If we could, we would do it. DJ would be on the top of YSN with a weather machine on the roof, swirling it, whatever it needs to do to change the weather. Like, if we could, we would.
Do you think you go back? Do you go into summer break where it's like there's no studies, they just play for a team? Do you think students would be willing to go and play baseball in May and June, but do you sacrifice enough of summer ball then to do that? I don't know what summer ball starts.
A lot of that recruiting starts with the travel, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you put the kids in that position, they're going to pick their future over their high school team. They're going to say, I'm going to go play for, especially if they're playing like big travel softball or baseball, where they're traveling out of state. They're going to like Colorado and Indianapolis and Myrtle Beach and all these big travel tournaments that happen over the country. hey, I gotta go see Notre Dame softball coach at this event, or I'm not gonna get recruited by them. Sorry. You put a kid in that situation, especially in today's kind of society, they're probably gonna pick more than not their own future, their own recruiting, more than, hey, I gotta help my high school team win this game.
This would be revolutionary. Baseball, softball in the fall, and then football in the spring.
See, I got a chance to talk to a lot of Georgia parents this weekend that grew up in Georgia. Georgia's a state that plays softball in the fall. It's a fall sport down there. Baseball's in the spring, softball's in the fall. They don't like it simply because the other states around them don't do it. Because like travel is so important, especially when I was talking to Georgia Tech parents. So obviously their players were playing at the Division I, recruiting level. You're having these travel teams that are having kids from Alabama, kids from, up north, kids from Carolinas. They can't play with them because they're done. And, we're getting ready for softball season. What do you do? Like, you can't play in the summer with travel when you're getting ready for your high school team. It's against the GHSAA rules to go play, in the non-contact period starts in August for football, like here. So you wouldn't be able to go and play with your travel team in August because you're in that period of your high school softball team. So it's crazy to have those two states to do it. I think if it was going to happen, it would have to be national. Like, we're going to do this.
I would think.
Then here's the thing. Like, okay, now your tournaments are going to be in the snow because your tournaments are going to be in November or late October.
Unless
there's a good chance it's really cold and it's snowing.
Unless what you do, you start it earlier than when school starts. So you bring baseball starting 2-3 weeks earlier in August, and you have that much weeks of the season under your belt. So that way you're finishing up and having tournaments more towards like either the middle or end of football season. You'd have to bring it in early, though. I don't think you could start football and baseball, softball all at the same time. You'd have to do like baseball, softball 3 weeks earlier than football.
And that would mess with travel.
Yeah.
And that like extending it in the spring would. I'm telling you,
you almost need like the high schools to just have travel teams, and the high schools to just be travel teams, and just have high schools represented as travel teams.
I think in situations like this, there should be a way that OHSAA can say, we're going to start the tournament 1 week later and be okay with that because you guys haven't gotten games in. And it's a pretty big, like, I'm pretty sure all of Northeast Ohio and probably a big punch. I don't know how the weather's been in like Central Ohio or Southern Ohio, but I'm guessing it can't be too much different than what we've experienced up here in Northeast. We can't have multiple teams in the tournament with 5 games. Like, how are we supposed to? Maybe the OHSAA can say, "Hey, we'll start the tournament 1 week later."
I agree with Chris Sigler here, and this is what I've been saying too. Tournament seeding is going to be interesting this year. He says our team's going to be more inclined to just look at records with the lack of games played, and that's exactly what I said with these coaches too, that are going to kind of look at teams and teams that are looking at records too. I mean, what are you looking at then with the games that are
a lot of teams are going to be voting on based on name, like prestige, right? Like Champion, South Range, the teams that you have been consistently good for 5-10 years. They're going to say, okay, that team's just good because they're good. We know they're good, right? So I think teams are going to get seeded a lot. Like, there are going to be a lot of teams that maybe have good records that no one's really, they're coming out of nowhere per se, that probably won't get a seed that they deserve. And that's just going to be the reality of it because they're not respected by name.
And you brought up the interesting question with Coach Gruber, and it extends to all the coaches too. What do you do? How do you get the edge now in the regular season when you don't have many games in, and you kind of have to keep these guys and girls motivated and focused on the postseason when you have a handful, if that, maybe games under your belt? It's definitely challenging.
Like, there are a handful of teams, Fitch excluded because Fitch has the facilities to play in anything, but outside of Fitch even, that do have games in. Like, West Branch has gotten plenty of games in.
West Branch has a great facility.
Salem softball has gotten plenty of games in. I think they have some of them, one of the outside of Fitch. I'm just excluding them from this conversation because they can play in almost anything as long as it's not pouring at game time.
As long as or lightning or something like that.
They don't count in this conversation. They count in every other conversation. This one, they don't count. Salem has played a lot. West Branch has played a lot. There are teams that are getting games in. South Range is getting played a lot because, one, they went down to Myrtle Beach, but two, their field handles stuff. So are we going to see schools start to maybe pay attention, a little bit more attention to baseball, softball, and say, instead of paying for new jerseys or new uniforms or new bats or new helmets, let's put money into this field a little bit. Maybe not turf. It doesn't have to be turf. South Range, West Branch, and Salem have proven it doesn't have to be turf. It just has to be a good.
Well, I think West Branch does, I think, have the turf. It's
not on the softball field.
No, maybe not on the softball field, on the baseball field.
Does.
Yeah. It's like semi-turf on the baseball field.
Right. So let's look at the drainage systems. Let's look at things that we can do to make these fields a little bit easier to handle, because obviously we don't have field crews that are dedicated to keeping up with these fields. Poland, people knock Poland for that big hill in right field, and you would think that it would drain water but Poland has a field that really handles water pretty well, because that hill takes all that water and puts it into this ditch that Coach Surich has dug into the away dugout. So it's kind of all sitting there, and it doesn't really get into the outfield too much. So there are a lot of days where they're just out there sponging the outfield in the morning, and they're good to go by game time as long as it doesn't rain more during the day. So Poland's field takes a lot. I think we're just going to have to see some more attention and care taken into these fields. It doesn't have to be turf everywhere, because obviously that's super expensive. It's just got to be a little bit more attention to, we got to make sure these fields can handle a little bit of weather.
Chris Ziegler saying too, double-edged sword moving forward, as well as the weather gets nicer, but you also have the end of the year activities to deal with. Also, if you try moving the season to later in the year, you have to worry about vacations and all kinds of other things for families. And Tony Cougar saying, welcome back, Anthony Hartwig. We were starting to think you weren't coming back.
Made it hard. Tech made it hard.
No, but really looking at it, I don't know what else you can do with it unless you start the season and you just really shorten the season to like a month and have games every day. Just have a game every day.
That's just gonna happen. Like this last couple weeks of the season, if you can play, you're playing. There are no days off anymore. There's no Wednesday, let's just relax.
So why not just schedule it like that with end of April and then just do all of May and then just start turning?
In a perfect world, you don't want kids playing games Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 2 on Saturday.
But would it then force teams to start paying more attention to pitch count and then trying to develop more pitchers at the youth levels?
Let's be out, like in baseball, it's even harder to do that because pitch count is a thing.
Yeah.
And you have to watch your pitch counts, and you have to make sure that you have the depth to handle games on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 2 on Saturday. Softball, you can have 2 pitchers and get through a week like that. Baseball, you're gonna have to start throwing guys that really aren't quote unquote pitchers. They're just there to kind of eat some innings.
It's just there's not really. I mean, obviously, if there was an easy answer to it, someone would have already figured it out, right?
Let's be real. This particular April is the worst that we've had in a long time. Like as far as cancellations, weather, like since we've been with YSN, I can't remember this many games getting absolutely just. I mean, there have been weeks where we haven't played the whole week, right? Cheney has 3 games in, and we're sitting here in late April. Like this is unprecedented. I don't think it will be this bad again for a while. So I don't think we can overreact to this.
It is fair to bring us back down to earth too. That we should. There's adverse weather in Ohio no matter what time. So even if we are moving it into fall, like we've had snow in October before.
Right. That's why I said, like, do you want to dodge weather in the late season or the early season? I mean, because either way, you're not going to get out of it. There's not going to be a 2-month window where you're like, we're going to have perfect weather. Yeah. We're not even guaranteed for great weather in the summer. There have been summers that have been wet up until August. So if we had June, okay, what if we had a really dry May and then June was wet too? I mean, there's no easy answer. And I don't want to overreact too much from this particular season because, like I said, the cancellations this year have been unprecedented in the amount of rain that we've gotten this year. Unprecedented. We haven't seen it in a long time. So I don't want to say like it's going to be like this every year. It's not this bad every year.
No. And Siggy's saying too that this weekend and next prom will take a lot out of teams too. And that's.
Yeah. And there are some teams that will be a little bit more lax than others with how they deal with prom. I know I've seen teams in the past say we're playing in the Saturday morning, and then you guys can go get ready for prom. That's just how it's going to be. And then some teams are like, we're going to play Friday, and we're going to, hit on Saturday, and then you guys go get ready for prom. And then some teams are just like, we're taking the whole weekend off, so you guys can go do prom. I think some coaches' mindset is, what are you going to sacrifice to get a state championship? Like we are a state championship team. Can you get ready for prom in 4 hours instead of 6 so we can get a game in on Saturday morning?
Yeah. And by the way, too, I believe a couple of track and field stars. I wanted to get these in too. I had these in the notes. So I went over the track meet that happened at Champion too, and we got results in for there. So I just wanted to wish a congratulations to for the Mahoning County track meet. Lowville Sophia Yon, she broke a record in the 800-meter dash, a 40-year county record in that one too. So we wanted to congratulate her. And then Nick Plant of Canfield broke a 48-year record in the 800-meter dash as well too. So just looking at some of the other results too with the track and field stars, wanted to wish congratulations to them. We went over the first place getters over at the champion meet too. That can also be found on WFMJ.com for the full results on that one too. But we wanted to wish congratulations to a couple more of the track and field stars in the area as well.
Yeah, and we didn't even get into more results. We kind of went off on a tangent on the discussion, but one of the baseball teams that had a really good weekend and finally getting games in that I think is one of those ones under the radar a little bit. Jackson Milton sitting there at 7-2, and they're contenders that MVAC Scarlet tier. They're sitting there waiting for respect. They got some wins this weekend. Aaron Romai is playing really well. You have some other players there that are playing really well for Jackson Milton. Don't sleep on this Blue Jays baseball team, Ty. I was very impressed by the results I got in this weekend and this week from Jackson Milton.
The Blue Jays baseball team is a very good team, and I think they're upset with the way last year ended against Western Reserve, and they're out to avenge some things, especially in the conference. So I think Jackson Milton always has been a quality baseball school too, and I thought they were going to be quality going into this year too. Making some noise. We'll have to see if they'll make enough to make it onto the power rankings, though.
And here's a shock. Columbiana's pitching is still just ridiculous.
Dynamic.
They haven't slowed down at all. They're shutting. I want to look at all their scores. I don't think they've allowed more than 4 runs this season. I could be wrong, but like if it was, it's like an outlier. They have consistently thrown in scores that are 2 runs, no hit. They have a combined no hitter. They have a straight up no hitter in 5 innings. They have run rules. They've been just really pitching amazing this season.
Yeah, and you know what? Another team I want to say too, and I had a coach on, Coach Molinix on, put some respect on West Branch's name too.
11 wins in a row now for West Branch baseball.
Baseball
Started
program.
the season kind of shaky. They were like, okay, West Branch is kind of taking some lumps, riding those waves a little bit, but they've caught a streak, which is hard to do, like we said, because it's hard to find a groove when you're not playing, not playing. But they won 11 in a row. They beat Ursuline last week, I think. I saw that score come up. They beat Grand Valley over the weekend. They're beating some really quality teams. Grand Valley, I think, was undefeated coming into that game against West Branch, and the Warriors beat them 5-4. So the Warriors are on a tear.
Yeah, and I think definitely making a case to show up on the power rankings with the wins that they've been able to gather in this season. And congratulations to West Branch. We had Coach Molinix on too. It was a good conversation, and he's doing things the right way, taking care of his players too, health and safety first, and winning while doing it too. So all the West Branch.
I've heard some fun stories about West Branch baseball and softball. This being one of those teams that are like home over there, the AD has been like, not the greatest conditions, but it's playable, so we're just going to play. Like they've been that team that's kind of like, we don't care that it's like not great conditions out here. It's safe. It's just not great. It's not super comfortable. We're playing. Like, let's just go. Their softball team has gotten games in where the field's not great. It's playable, but they don't care. Let's just go, right? Let's just go and let's play the game because we got to get games in. They've been kind of that resilient, nitty-gritty, blue-collar team that's just like, hey, it's muddy. We don't care. Let's just play.
We could fact check this one, though, but how about this? If this is true, the most runs Columbiana has given up this year is 2 versus Ursuline. That's insane. And I mean, if that is true, if that's a fact, I mean, that is insane. And I think you're going to see that pay off for the Clippers. I've been shouting their name too. They've been power ranked consistently too. I think they're going to just continue continuously keep moving on up in the power rankings. They keep on doing what they're doing.
Perfect segue, because now we're going to talk about the Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley winners, and the baseball winner this week does come from Columbiana. It is Riley McElwain. He gets the win in week 1, and it's an EOAC sweep because in the softball voting, it was Torrey Firth. They got the win for Baird Brothers Big Dog of the Valley. So congratulations to those two.
Yeah, and Torrey Firth obviously pitching the perfect game to get herself on the list too, and walking away with the Big Dog of the Valley. That's pretty fitting, though. That's pretty fitting.
Pitching the perfect game like the day after he comes on the show.
Yeah, was it the day after, or was it that night?
Actually, that night. It was
literally night. Like I think I said too. We had her on like 5 hours before she threw it. That's insane too. If only hindsight was 2020.
Should have had her on the day after, but hey, we'll take the mojo that we gave her and run with that. We'll just say that we gave her some good mojo.
Got to get some more pictures on Running Point. Then good things happen if you show up here.
There should be a line.
I'm knocking at the door. No,
I don't think Columbiana needs us. They've been doing it all. Whatever they've been doing, I don't even want to jinx it. Like, I don't want to give them more mojo and unbalanced scales or anything like that. They've been lights out pitching.
That brings up the question too, with the softball power rankings ahead of these new ones dropping in. I asked the question, which teams make the best case of dethroning our number 1 power ranked teams in Fitch and Canfield?
There were some opportunities on the softball world this week because Fitch lost a couple games to Myrtle Beach, but we saw both Ursuline and South Range, who were nipping at that bud, drop a couple games, right? South Range lost to Lakeview, Ursuline lost a couple games. So they're just like, and Fitch is going to be sitting pretty. And then you look at West Branch, even they lost a game this week too to Marlington 4-3. So
and then Champion had the perfect opportunity because Champion was undefeated. They just beat Crestview. It was like Champion has this perfect opportunity to slide into 2, possibly even slide into 1. And then Brookfield comes out and takes care of Champion.
So the doors were creaking open a little bit, but no one really took the bull by the horn and kicked it down, right? So I would imagine, we'll have to wait till tomorrow or tonight when they come out, but tomorrow when we talk about it, I would imagine Fitch stays in that top spot, and I would imagine that Canfield stays in the top spot for this week. But the doors were
Fitch have isn't even from a team in the state.
the doors were creaking open, right? And then a couple of teams just couldn't kick it down.
And that's the thing, and that's what I said with I think the Lakeview loss put South Range out of taking number 1 because I think the losses were evened out on Fitch and South Range's side too. Right. With the loss to Archbishop Spalding for Fitch too. Was their first loss of the season.
And then Fitch lost it again to the Jefferson, right?
Yeah.
Not our Jefferson, to be clear. It wasn't Jefferson area.
2 very good softball teams in their respective states too.
And South Range's loss up to that Lakeview game was to the Beaver out of PA.
Yeah, which is a very good softball team.
When you have a pitcher that's going to Virginia Tech. But then they lost one of their 2 doubleheader games this weekend to Stowe too. So they're sitting with 3 losses now on the season.
Yeah, no doubt. And just to take a peek at it too, this was last week's, but ahead of this one that's going to be dropping in, I believe tonight. This is what we were looking at last week. I think there's a lot of movement that we're going to be seeing coming about this, though. I mean,
how we handle 2, 3, and 4 is going to be interesting to me. That's the most interesting.
I think so too, because I honestly think top 5 might stay, and you might substitute Champion for Crestview in the top 5. But I really think the top 5 are going to stay. It's just you're going to shuffle them. I don't know if Fitch is going to get dethroned, though, and I mean, that's...
We will see tomorrow, right? I mean, that's the big...
Or tomorrow, excuse me, tomorrow, power ranking.
We will see on Running Point tomorrow. You'll be able to see tonight. Yeah. I'm assuming when they drop, tonight or tomorrow, you'll be able to see. But just that little glimpse of where we sit right now before. I know, you talked about it a lot last week, and it seems like every week, every day, the look of that power rankings and the way that we talk about these teams is changing. But I think that goes back to our conversation about not being able to find a groove. I think that's making that no team really is showing that they're unbelievably dominant, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Like we think South Ranges, they lose. We think Fitches, they lose a couple of times. We think that Canfield they've lost a couple of times in baseball. No one's really finding that sweet spot where they get on a big run. They're blowing everybody out. They're just super dominant. So I think both these one spots, Fitch and Canfield, they're not like the Gap. They're not like huge. It's getting the waters are getting murky.
Hubbard is slowly creeping up. They got on that 10 spot. They moved up to 9, and they might be continuing to move up this list too, doing it the old-fashioned way with hard work and grit.
They got South Range tonight and tomorrow.
Those are going to be some big games too. Just to take a real quick peek at the baseball ones ahead of the new ones that are going to drop tonight. This is last week's heading into this week's. I mean, Boardman's suffering some losses too in spring break has really hurt them. But do you think South Range is making a case, the other Canfield team, to make a case to take that number 1 spot from the Cardinals?
Oh, they're undefeated. Like they still haven't lost.
It's tough, right? It's tough.
I don't think they're there yet, but like I said, the gap's closing. In my opinion, we'll see what the other voters think, and we'll see what the power. But in my opinion, they're not there yet, but the gap's closing.
A lot of baseball and softball yet to be played. This power ranking is going to be really fun when it does drop, though, tonight, just to see what teams are going to make an appearance.
Little bit back to Hubbard. I think Hubbard has, top 3 pitchers in the area. Hubbard, Haley Croyle, right there. She's having a stellar senior season. Had kind of a shaky junior year, hit and miss a little bit. I think she was still struggling with getting trying to prove herself a little bit because she was obviously early commit to Akron. She's been committed to Akron for a while, and I think she was trying to navigate the waters with pitchers like Bree Kohler in that league, who was also going to be a Division I pitcher, trying to just find her spot. She's found it, and she's hitting a big groove. Haley Croyle, this year especially, maybe not talked about enough when you talk about pitchers in the area. But in my opinion, from what I've seen, she's got the velocity, she's got the off speed, and she's got the movement. And those are the 3 things you need to be a dominant pitcher, especially in softball. You got a rise ball that's fast. She throws a drop ball that's hard, a hard drop ball with a lot of sink. And then she's got the off speed that just she can mess with your timing. She can mess with where she's going to throw in the strike zone. So she's good. She's good.
And talking too, I think Mike Bartos here is talking South Range baseball here. Nice test with a 1-0 victory over Lakeview as well. These NE8 conferences, I mean, just to kind of pair both what you're talking about with Hubbard to Mike's comment on South Range. I mean, they're going to be challenges to see. I'm interested to see who's going to come out on top because I don't think it's as simple as just slotting South Range in the baseball and softball NE8, saying these are going to probably be the winners for this one because I think these teams in these conferences have something to say about it.
Right now, it's a 4-way tie for first on the softball side. So,
and who do you think out of those 4 teams, in your opinion, is the best suited to make the run? I mean, South Range obviously is one that's been playing out of.
What do you mean, like this to run for the conference or like
conference.
run?
Yeah, the conference, just for the conference. Who do you think has the best chance grabbing conference crown, knowing the games that we have on the docket for each one of these teams coming up in the conference games left for each team?
If Lakeview was competitive in game 2 against South Range, I would say Lakeview. But you see a little bit of inconsistency still there with them. They beat South Range once, and they go home, and it's just not there again, right? It's just the consistency. I'm looking for consistency out of teams. Lakeview. I want to see consistency with Hubbard. Even if Hubbard doesn't win this South Range game tonight or tomorrow, can they come back and be good the next day? Or if they beat South Range, can they come back and not get washed the next day? Right now, I think South Range is the most consistent. Like even when they lost against Lakeview, okay, we played well, we lost on a walk-off. Let's get back to it. And not a walk-off, but a late score, I should say. I think Lakeview scored in the top of the 7th. Let's get right back to it and get in it. They went back the next day and beat Lakeview pretty bad. So same thing with Poland. They walked off Poland, right? So I think South Range is just a little bit more consistent right now. Well, I would say that.
here's the case, though. If Hubbard and South Range split, doesn't it make the Poland Lakeview series all the more important for the NE8 then?
It absolutely does. And if Poland and Hubbard, if South Range and Hubbard split, they'd both be with 2 losses in the league. And then all of a sudden, the winner of that Lakeview Poland series, if they don't split, gets really in the driver's seat. But South Range will still have a game against Poland left.
That's the wild card game in this.
And Hubbard will still have a game against Poland left.
But Poland technically is in the driver's seat then, I think, because they have a matchup with every single one of those teams then.
I think South Range doesn't want to see Lakeview win that series because that's the one team that South Range can't catch up with by themselves. They're done playing Lakeview, right? They can't make up ground against Lakeview. So if Lakeview takes a lead on South Range, then South Range is in that spot where they have to rely on other people to beat Lakeview, right? They have to take care of their business, but then they have to hope that Lakeview stumbles. So I think Lakeview's the one team that South Range doesn't want to see pop into that top spot, the NE8.
Yeah, and I think if there's one team too, I already said it, but I think if there's one team that has the best chance to control their destiny, you got to look at Poland. Just for the nature of the games that got canceled, now you got to play Hubbard once, South Range once, Lakeview twice. And those are the other 3 teams in the 4-way tie for first right now, so you control your own destiny right now. If Poland wins 3 of those 4 games,
right,
Poland wins the conference.
So they're sitting pretty. They got the sweep over Steubenville over the weekend, so they're bringing momentum into the week too.
Yeah, that is huge too. And I mean, it's an interesting conference.
Like, all those teams are really good. That's the thing. Like all those teams are really good, and you're kind of seeing that. Like Lakeview's a really good team. They have a lot of really good talent.
They got Thunderbats too on that team.
Do they shake a little times on defense and pitching? Yeah, they do. They're a little bit inconsistent on those parts, but they have a consistent lineup 1 through 9. And when their pitching is right, it's really right. And I've seen that defense make really awesome plays. So their defense has the capability. Their pitching has the capability. I just want to see a little bit more consistency from those 2 parts of the game from them.
Yeah.
So,
they have the bomb squad of Lakeview does of Kylie Ives and Maggie Pavlansky that are just smacking dingers left and right out of the ballpark, keeping their team in it too. Obviously, and then you look at the pitching circle for the other ones too. Haley Croyle is huge. Katie McDonald just threw a no-hitter for Poland. There's so much talent in this NE8. It's going to be wild. And it kind of reminds me of the AAC on the baseball side of things now because Canfield sitting with the 1 loss to Boardman now. It's a Canfield, Boardman, Fitch, and now you could even throw Howland into this race a little bit too.
Howland's starting to find that groove that we're talking about. Some of the teams struggling to find. The Howland's won, a handful in a row, and their offense is starting to really mash the ball. So it's an interesting AAC. Canfield hasn't played since the week before last, 14th, I think it was their last game. So they took the spring break off. So we're going to see how that affects them coming in right back. They have to come in hot.
Yeah, and I mean it's definitely going to be interesting. They were down in where were they? Canfield was, I think, down in Myrtle, and I think
their baseball team was, but their softball team.
Oh yeah, softball, yeah, for sure. That's going to be interesting, no doubt, and that's still wide open. Boardman and Fitch still have to play, and then obviously too on the baseball side of things, it's going to be wild in the AAC too. It's still wide open too. Fitch still has to play Canfield twice, Boardman twice.
Right before spring break, Molina Toe threw a no-hitter. And then they had to go on that big break. Like, are they going to be able to carry momentum for the Cardinals to make a run in that AAC? They already have 2 losses to Fitch. They can't afford to lose more ground.
The number of no-hitters that we've seen in this season has been absolutely incredible. We have
last year was one of those ones where like they were all seniors. They were all just putting on a show. Like it seemed like every time we turned around, Bree Callow from McDonald was putting on a perfect game or a no-hitter. And then Bree Kohler would kind of one-up her and say, I'm going to throw a no-hitter. But now we're seeing it kind of widespread, right? Like we saw a lot of them from a couple of people last year. And a couple of people had a ton. Now we're seeing, Torrey Firth, United. We're seeing Sydney Watts, of course. But then we're seeing
Caden Sutton had two.
Katie McDonald, Riley Troy threw a one-hit shutout. So we're seeing a lot of really good pitching performances, but instead of it coming from a couple of people who are just lighting the world on fire, it's spread out this year through a lot of teams, a lot of representation.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, just a lot of great pitching that we are seeing in this area. And we saw a combined no-hitter from Columbiana, from Devin Doherty and Seth Spooner.
That was the second no-hitter of the season, I believe, from the Clippers, because Eusebio threw one for them early in the season as well.
Gavin Wilms for Salem Baseball threw a no-hitter against Minerva, too. That happened. I mean, there's been a ridiculous amount of no-hitters that have been happening around the area. I'm trying to think of it, all the other ones, too. I said Caden Sutton threw her second one, too.
Caden Sutton's throwing them.
It's unbelievable, the number of pitching that we've seen.
Caden Sutton's one of those pitchers that can rake, too, because she'll come up in the lineup right in the middle of that order, and she can bomb it. I mean, over the weekend, her and Carson Moore both had home runs. We're starting to call them the Bomb Sisters because they're just, knocking them out of the park.
Everyone's beating everyone, though, in this softball realm. And just like we look at these teams and how close they are. Lakeview, you almost forget, too, before they beat South Range, they only lost to Champion by a run 9-8.
Right. That was a good game.
That's another close game, and that just shows how close these top 10 ranked teams in softball are. Anyone can truly beat anyone, it looks like.
And that goes back to the main argument of this show today. Not argument, but the main point of this show today. I don't think there's a lot of really the straight-up dominant teams because this weather has made it really hard to find a groove. And the teams that are, props off to them, like West Branch Baseball, they're on a groove right now. Hands down, 11 wins in a row. They're doing something right. But a lot of teams are just kind of navigating the roller coaster of a season where they're off again, on again, and you're starting to see a little bit of inconsistency pop up with some of these teams that are usually pretty dominant in their own league.
Yeah, and I mean that shows how much talent is up from around the area, though, too. And I mean, just good pitching. We have a lot of good pitching in this area, good young pitching as well. It's going to be a gauntlet to get through, and I'm excited for a lot more of these non-conference games. If I'm not mistaken, I think this upcoming Friday, Fitch has both Columbiana and South Range Baseball back-to-back in a doubleheader, 5 and 7 o'clock.
Doubleheader, though. Right? So they're playing 5 innings.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate.
Back to that. Like, we're getting robbed of those really good games.
You are getting robbed of the last 2 innings, but it is still nice to see at least those matchups.
Advantage pitcher, I think, in those 5-inning doubleheaders, right? Like, would you agree with that? Because then your lineup has maybe 2 shots at you if they're hitting well.
You weren't here
unless they're rolling, but like if you're pitching well, you might get through the lineup. When Poland played Fitch and they had to play 5. They got through the lineup once and then maybe like 3 hitters after that, and then no one else got a hit, right?
Something like that. I don't remember the exact number right off.
I remember talking to them, and they were like, man, if we just had a couple more looks at some shots, we feel like we would have been catching up to her.
You never know. It does. It puts teams at a disadvantage. Speaking of those things, you weren't here, Anthony, when I did talk about the coaches poll about Fitch being ranked 4th in Division 1 and South Range being ranked 3rd in Division 3.
Now they're 5th. That came out this morning.
But still, I mean, great voting on that side of things too for some of our area teams to just showcase them what the respect they're getting from other area coaches and how competitive they think they're going to be.
That comes from Fitch. I mean, they're putting a lot of people on notice because Sydney Watts is getting national attention from people like X Training Softball. National articles are being written about Sydney Watts. So everyone's kind of keeping an eye on Fitch. They're right there. South Range has been like good for years. So coaches around the area, around the state, I should say, know who South Range Softball is, right? Because they've been to the state tournament. They've been, beating champion. They're good, right? So they've been a good program. So people are kind of like, oh, South Range, they have a pretty good record, so they must be good again. Let's just put them in the poll.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's going to be interesting, too, that Division 3, you want to talk about the voting. You look at the Division 3, the tournament draw and what it's going to be, and the teams that are going to be in this tournament draw, it's going to be absolutely insane.
Yikes. That's all I have to say is yikes, because You got South Range Nursling, who went to the regional championship last year, right there.
Champion saying hello. We're right here too.
Crestview,
defending state champ.
Crestview's right there.
Crestview is absolutely right there as a wild card too.
Springfield, I think they're D3 for softball, D4 for basketball and volleyball. But if I remember right, they're D3 for softball. There are some changes, by the way. I think there are some teams that are D3 for basketball that drop down a division.
We'll have to double check on those too, just to see what the draws are.
Brookfield is Division 4 for softball. They went, they played Matthews, so they're definitely Division 4. But we know they're Division 3 for basketball. So
that's going to be Brookfield. All of a sudden becomes very interesting, I think, for the softball realm.
Division 2's got your West Branch, your Poland, your Lakeview, Marlington. That's not on YSN's wall yet, but they're very good. So Division 2 is going to be good, and Division 1. I mean, what do you have to say? The Federal League is going to be in that district, so good luck.
It's going to be interesting, though, but I think for the limited number of D1 teams that we do have in the softball realm, hopefully Fitch gives us a great show. I think they have one of the best chances of giving us a deep run. D2, I mean, take your pick, but I think West Branch is looking really good, but I think Lakeview can surprise some people, especially going into this
They
term.
were right there last year, right? I mean, they had Marlington on the hook. And to quote, who was it? Who was that Cardinals coach? We let him off the hook. Can't think of his name, but everyone knows that press conference clip. That was probably Nate Schick after that game. Like we had a good game plan. Marlington brought everything that we thought they'd bring. They were who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook. So Lakeview's going to be hungry because of that.
That'll be a great game too. And then Division 3, take your pick. I mean, you could go Crestview.
Hubbard's in Division 2 too. I don't want to forget about.
Oh yeah, Hubbard too. Yeah,
don't teams. Boop. No, Hubbard's in Division 2 too. And when you have a Haley Croyle, you can just make a straight run. In softball, one pitcher in a tournament, you can just run with them.
We were talking about Brookfield softball. I want to talk about Brookfield baseball because the game I was at Eastwood Field, the first game I was at 11, Brookfield comes back trailing first and foremost. They were down 5-0. They come back and even the game up 5-5. Then they get down again 9. Hold on. Let me preface this. They were down 5-0 up until the 4th. They tie the game up 5-5. Going into the 6th, I believe it was 9-5. They scored 4 runs. Did Piedmont Tuning Valley? They scored 4 runs. It was 9-5 heading into the bottom of the 6th. I think Brookfield scored 4 more runs, tied it up at 9 before ultimately winning 10-9. It was a fantastic game to open up for Brookfield baseball. They won their 3rd game of the season, and then I eventually ended up seeing JFK too. And this is where I wanted to get to with JFK in Division 4 with baseball, because got to see them play. And when they played Matthews, when they play Heartland Christian, and we talk about their losses, and I don't think people were putting enough respect on their name, saying, oh, they lost to Ursuline, they lost to Akron Hoban. When JFK is playing teams in their division and they're playing teams in their realm, they look like they are a step above their competition. They look really good right now. And I mean, defending state champs for a reason. They only really, if I'm not mistaken, only lost Cam Hollabaugh off that squad. This is a defending state champion team that is still as talented, and on the mound, they're dynamic.
Ty, you got to see Brookfield. There's a player that I want you to talk about who's, I think, Brookfield, probably one of their best players and needs to be talked about more. Mark Randall. I mean, you got to see him firsthand, and I've got to see his numbers get fed in for recaps. Talk about what you've seen from that kid, up close and personal.
He was batting I think he was batting 2nd in the Brookfield order yesterday too, and he's good for that top of the order as far as just keeping guys moving around base.
On base percentage has to be.
He has good on base percentage, but he knows how to be productive even with his outs too. And he usually doesn't get into too many strikeouts. He puts the ball in play a lot, and you always like to see that too as a coach, especially when you put guys at the top of the order, someone that can put the ball in play, someone that can be productive even in their outs. And he's a perfect guy inserted in that part of the lineup. And just credit Brookfield yesterday for not fighting, or 2 days ago, Saturday morning, for not fighting, not backing down, and twice coming back down 5 and then down 4 in the game to ultimately win it by 1.
We're going to have to try to get Mr. Randall on Running Point at some point. I think he's one of those players that Everyone's talking about some of the big players in the area. He's putting in a lot of work, needs to be talked about. We want to shine a light on those kind of players. So put my feelers out. We'll try to get Mr. Randall on the show at some point soon. Make sure to keep your eyes out on our social media pages. Follow us on Twitter, at Running Point YSN.
First pitch is set for 5:15.
And that is being moved to Fitch, by the way. Is that the
Yep.
I should have looked at the comment before I said that. I just assumed that DJ was talking about the I just got updated on too.
Breaking news on that one too. I believe Richie was on the call for that one too. It was supposed to be at Boardman, I believe. So should be a great game tonight. That'll definitely pretty much the winner of that is going to be the one you kind of see as the challenger for Campfield then.
That softball got moved to Fitch too at 5:15. So softball will be Boardman versus Fitch at Austintown.
Oh, so you had the softball update. We had the baseball update. There we go. We'll have to see, though. It's going to be interesting. I think we were supposed to have thunderstorms starting at 6 p.m. too.
Yeah, let's look at the Storm Tracker 21.
Yeah, thunderstorms were supposed to start, so we're going to have to see what time those are supposed to happen. Talking about it, too, while you're looking that up, Anthony, I wanted to just look into this.
According to Storm Tracker 21, 50% chance at 4, 50% chance at 5, 50% chance at 6, and then it gets a little bit higher when you go to 7, 8, 9 o'clock.
So we'll see. We're riding with 50-50. We'll see how it all turns out.
In that situation, it doesn't matter where you're at, right? So I wonder what the conversation was to move the site of the game. Usually when you move something to Fitch, it's because the rain came in the morning and the field says this is one of those ones where we're just waiting out rain to see if it happens. And if it does, according to Storm Tracker 21, it's going to be a thunderstorm. So no matter where you're playing, you're not going to play.
No, lightning puts an X on it immediately.
So I wonder if they're just saying hey, we can play in mid rain at Fitch, so let's just go there. And if it mid range, we can still play. If they're just trying to take that precaution.
They're saying it's a 50-50 chance for it to rain, so we're going to hedge our bets and take the best field that we got to get a game in right now. And if it doesn't get in, it doesn't get in. But if it does, we're going to take our best chances to get it in and just play it at Fitch on the turf.
I'm sure Quinn will pop up on the comments soon. Where are you going tonight then?
Yeah.
Make the trip to Fitch since I was doing the Boardman game, or do you want that game?
Well, I'll let you have it since you wanted this one because I'm scheduled.
They might move the Boardman game to tomorrow and just play at Boardman tomorrow. So
yeah, that is true. Well, we're gonna have to find out, see if our man with the scheduling, Quinn, can get some inside knowledge on that and see how it's gonna be. Because if Boardman is tomorrow, then we'll definitely agree on what it is.
Where are you scheduled to be tonight?
I don't think I'm scheduled anywhere. I think we were.
There you go.
So I think right now it's open, so we'll talk with Quinn and see if maybe we can work something out here.
I'm sure he'll pop up in the comments soon. He always does.
Yeah, for sure. But no, looking at it, I wanted to talk about the Scarlet side of the MVAC since we were talking about the gray. Waterloo got a big win too over Mineral Ridge, and I thought that was huge too in the softball realm, 14-9. Just to talk about another one that's going to be a tight race, I think, going down to the end of the season.
It's a Waterloo team that had Springfield by the grass, let them through, and now is beating Mineral Ridge, who we came into the season thinking those were the top two teams in the softball realm on the MVAC Scarlet tier. Now here they come, and here comes Waterloo.
Is it a three-team race?
Barely lost to Springfield. They have another game with Springfield on the horizon, and they got the win over Mineral Ridge.
I mean, this is going to be interesting, too. I think it's a three-team race between Ridge, Waterloo, and Springfield now on the Scarlet side. A lot of conferences to be decided, and a lot of games are on the docket, too. And you want to take a break before we have to start getting through all of them?
Let's do that. We'll take a break, and we'll be back with kind of the previews of the games ahead, and we'll talk about what big matchups loom in the night tonight on Running Point. Tonight on YSN. We'll be back on Running Point on YSN, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect card for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Working with your family can be stressful at times, but because they're family, you know that you're going to get a loving, honest answer, even when things don't make sense to any problem. Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Notice we'll have scattered showers on Thursday.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Jimmy Sutton here, director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig with you alongside Ty Bartell, and want to remind everyone that if they missed it, they are the Fitch baseball and softball games have been moved from Boardman tonight to Austintown Fitch, and the start times are now 5:15. DJ Oakley commenting on that, letting us updated from both those games. Now we'll be at Austintown Fitch, 5:15, first pitch. Just two of the really good matchups that we're going to see tonight on the network.
I think if everything holds true, Richie's going to take you through on the baseball side, and Mr. Anthony Hartwig gets the keys to the Lambeau now at the Fitch Falcon softball complex to see the untouchable Sydney Watts in action against a very good senior led Boardman lineup that has a deadly 1-2 combination, 2 in the circle. Should be a great competition and great game tonight for you, Ant.
Yeah, and when you look at it, Ty, and I don't know if they're gonna try to make this tonight's Boardman's home game and make them the designated home team, or if they're gonna try to get a game into Boardman tomorrow because the weather looks pretty okay for tomorrow. Although if we get a lot of rain tonight, field conditions, that's up in the air as well.
Win, I think both of them are at Fitch, is what he's saying. Both today and tomorrow are going to be at Fitch. So Boardman, I think, is more likely to be designated home team tonight. Not that far of a drive for Boardman community either.
No, they'll be I won't be able to get in the press box like you do. It'll be a different view, but we're gonna have a lot of fun tonight with Boardman versus Fitch round 1.
You can get down in that nice little pad now. They got a nice pad behind home plate, and now you guys are going to get a different view on Sydney Watts' pitch and seeing how they're going to move.
Oh, like in a perfect world, I would set up a camera in center field and be able to call game from behind home plate so I can see, but then the viewer can see really how much that ball moves, especially her rise ball. I don't think you get enough respect for it when you're in that press box view. It's a great view for everything else, but you don't see the movement quite as much. It just kind of looks like a straight pitch that kind of, but you look at that rise ball from the center field camera, especially. Oh, it moves. It moves so much. I can't wait to see her. I'm getting giddy. I'm getting giddy. No, it's going to be great. It'll be a great matchup. Boardman very hungry because they had a tough draw in Myrtle Beach and they lost a couple of games that they feel like they should have won, but they ended that trip with a big win. So they're going to come in with a lot of hunger, and they realize that those games win-loss don't matter. It's really the how they do in the conference that matters. So they're going to come back, and it's going to be a hungry Boardman team, and it's going to be a Fitch team that is running on all cylinders right now. So it should be a fun one.
Yeah, supposed to be at Boardman, ends up at Fitch, and now I'm forced to share my team with you, and I don't like sharing too much, Anthony. So I'll give you the keys to the Lambo. Don't scratch it up too much. And
sharing is caring.
It should be a good one too. Been missing them since they left for Myrtle Beach. It should be fun. I'll be tuning in tonight to hear your call of it, though, Ant.
So you look at tonight's schedule on the network, and we have a lot of games that are greenlit as of now. Like I said, Storm Tracker 21 gives us a 50-50 chance tonight. It's pretty much a 50% chance throughout 7-8 o'clock. So we'll keep everyone updated. But right now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games on the network tonight. 9 baseball, 3 softball, and they're going to be really good matchups. We got Eric Hughes double dipping tonight. We have you're going to hear Matt Morrison. Richie Giuliano will be at Fitch. DJ's going to make the trip to Mohawk. I think he's becoming their designated. They love him down there. We love having Mohawk as part of the family. So DJ's going to make that trip. Noah Doty's going to be at Crestview for a big matchup on the baseball diamond between Garfield and the Rebels. On the softball field, Bob Zaney's going to be doing Brookfield as Struthers, and Chris Sigler's going to be a big matchup with United traveling to Columbiana in the EOAC. It's going to decide a lot because right now it's those two teams. Like Lisbon's fallen off a little bit. It's those two teams fighting it out in the EOAC. So tonight's game, big.
It's almost unfortunate that the power rankings are going to drop before we get a result. Well, maybe because it's like the winner of that game should get the spot in the power ranking.
The results might not drop by the final, but I want to remind everyone because we do it every week. The votes are in. Like the votes will.
We already casted them.
Right. Well, the finals tonight will not count towards this week's power rankings. They count towards next week's votes. So votes are in. So if United pulls off a big victory and they get like a spot where you don't think they got respect for that victory, just wait till next week. If they finish the week strong.
Got to give us time to react.
So that'll be fun. Chris Sigler going to have the call there, and that's going to be in Columbiana at Firestone Park, which is a great facility if you've never been there for a softball game. You're sitting in the woods, which is really cool. You got a lot of shade if it's a sunny day, and if it starts to drizzle a little bit, you got some cover there. You got some natural umbrellas under the trees in Firestone Park.
Yeah, no doubt. It's It's definitely a gorgeous field, Ant. So go look at these
And
games too that we have going on tonight.
Daryl Kurtz, you talked to him last week, and Matty Kurtz and that whole coaching staff take really good care of that softball field. So it's one of the ones that's usually in pristine condition, unless weather is just too damaging that even Hercules couldn't keep it pristine at that point. But they do a really good job over there keeping both baseball and softball fields pretty pristine in Columbiana.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, credit the work that these people put into these fields too to keep them up to date. They've had a hellacious April to start.
Ooh, big word, Ty. Hellacious. Let's go over the matchups tonight. Okay, so DJ's going to be in Mohawk for Freedom Area versus Mohawk. That's going to be really good in Mohawk. We're going to pick that Mohawk for that one. Boardman and Austin Town Fitch. Baseball. Richie Giuliano on the call.
Fitch coming off of this loss to Green. Boardman having a tough trip out of town for their spring break. Boardman beating Canfield, though. They got a lot of seniors. Fitch is a lot younger. Depends on who's on the mound tonight. They didn't start Joe Roth or Jake Coral against Green, so I would think one of those guys is going to be starting tonight. I can't go against what I've seen from them. I've only seen Boardman against Chardon, and albeit Chardon, they did win that one, and Boardman looked really tough. The bats looked tough. I go pitching over bats, and I go home team in this one. If Fitch is now at home, I know it might be a home game for Boardman. It's still the home stadium. I got to go Falcons in this one.
It's going to be a close game. And in close games for baseball, I give advantage home team, not because of where they're playing, but because of the fact that you bat in the bottom of the innings.
Yeah.
I'm going to give Boardman the edge.
That's fair. That's fair. That lineup is dangerous, too. That'll be an interesting game in the AAC. We'll decide a lot.
You know, another interesting matchup as we scroll down on the baseball side.
That'll be on the network, too, by the way, folks.
That will be on the network. It'll be Richie Giuliano, like we said, on the call. I want to remind everyone, Girard at Jefferson baseball is postponed, and so is Lisbon at Latonia. That is being postponed as well. So a couple of postponements, but everything other than that on the baseball side of things is happening and good. We'll go back up to the top of the schedule. Garfield at Crestview.
Gotta go with Crestview. Give me the view on this one.
I'll take the G-Men.
Ooh.
Yeah, chaos. LeBray at Brookfield. This is going to be played at Eastwood Field. Great opportunity for high school kids to play on a professional stadium.
Baseball-wise, I got to go Brookfield. Brookfield got that win in Eastwood Field on Saturday morning. They like the feeling of it.
Right at home at Eastwood, aren't they?
Yeah, I got to go Brookfield in this one.
I'll take Brookfield, too. Oak Glen at Beaver Local. 5 p.m. first pitch. It'll be video only, but we'll have the coverage there as well. My first pick, I'll take Beaver Local.
Give me Oak Glen. Why not? Let's get some chaos. Another split.
Villain. Ravenna Southeast, right in your backyard. They're making the trip to Struthers on scene 2. They will play Warren JFK, 5 o'clock first pitch. On the call for this one, it'll be Matt Mayer.
I'm going to go with JFK. They've been impressive. I can't go against what I've seen from them.
And especially against Division 4 teams, right? Teams that are going to be in their district. They've made a statement. I think Southeast is Division 3 now that I'm thinking of it. But they're still making a statement against teams that are at their level. So I think JFK keeps making statements.
No doubt. I think so as well. Fly equals fly.
United will be at Columbiana for baseball as well. That one will be called by Joe Eusebio. 5 o'clock first pitch. Not picking against the Clippers. They've not given up more than 2 runs all this season.
Yeah. Clipper clapping along with them.
Waterloo at Lowville. This will be on scene 1 at 5 o'clock. Waterloo baseball kind of on and run like the softball team. Give me the Vikings.
Sweethearts, Vikings.
Champion at Camel, scene 1 at 7 o'clock. Eric Hughes is going to be doing both those games, Lowville and Camel. He is pulling double duty tonight. So thank you to Eric for all the work that you're going to be putting in tonight. I'll take Les Champions.
Les Champions. I'll take them as well.
Lakeview at Poland baseball. This one's a big one in the NE8.
Give me Lakeview. Give me
Lakeview as well. And the Battle of the Dogs.
Battle of the Dogs.
Newton Falls at Liberty, 5 o'clock first pitch. Newton Falls just beat Lakeview over the weekend.
I want
the Falls.
Falls are able to get big wins when they need it, man.
Give me the Falls. South Range and Hubbard.
Got to go with the Raiders. Can't go against them.
They're undefeated, so until someone knocks them off, I'm going to pick them. Struthers at Niles. Niles under the radar. I'm picking the Dragons. I don't know about you.
I like what the Wildcats did. They were able to do like a winning streak too after suffering some defeats. Who's home?
It's at Niles.
Yeah, I got to go Niles then. Give me Niles.
Dragons. Wellsville at Edison. Your first pick.
Give me the Cats. Wildcats, Edison.
Cats as well. All right, we go to softball, Boardman at Fitch, which will actually be, it'll be Boardman's home team.
You got the call on it, and I think the Falcons are there to flex.
My first pick, and it's going to be a really good game. Like, I think it'll come down to plays. Fred Moots can go with Strines or Lester, but because Lester is still dealing with a little bit of hit and miss, I think he might throw the freshman in this big situation.
Freshman matchup on the circle.
Would be gutsy. It would be really gutsy because one of the big advantages Boardman has over Fitch is they're so senior led, right? And Lester's one of those seniors, been there, done that, knows how to pitch in big games. So do you trust her to do that? And obviously Fred Moots, he's talked about it a lot. He has the utmost trust in Madison Lester. He believes in that girl more than you could ever believe in a player. So I don't think that'll be a reason why he doesn't throw her. I just think he'll look at matchups and say, Tori Strine's doing a little bit better job keeping hitters off balance.
Well,
you need to keep this lineup off balance.
Here's the thing you think about if you're Fred Mooch. You throw Shrines in at first. If she gives you a solid 3 or 4 innings, then gets into some trouble, you have the senior. Call her in. Or if you start Maddie, you don't know if Shrines is going to come in and then maybe not handle the moment at the time, or maybe it doesn't have her best stuff. I think you get Shrines in there first and foremost, seeing how many innings you can get out of her.
Because if you start her, you have her be able to prepare for that moment.
Yeah.
And you don't say, hey, come in this moment right now. You have to be ready. Let's go to a freshman. I like that idea. We'll see who he starts. But another advantage that Boardman has, they have that really, really good 1-2 punch. So they might, in my opinion, they have more depth in the circle than Fitch does.
They'll have to see, though, because Kayla Schubert's been showing up too big for Fitch in some shutout performances, and she provides a look from the other side of the plate too, lefty look too. So it'll be interesting too. I think the lineups are going to be interesting in this one, where Fitch has a younger lineup, but they have some boppers up and down it, but Boardman has so many seniors.
I got to pick a big league one first. Now it's your turn because United's traveling to Columbiana. Big in the EOAC. Both teams have been looking good. Who do you have? Can United pull off the big win? I don't want to call it an upset, but
who did you pick in Boardman Fitch? I didn't even get your pick.
Oh, I talked about it. I didn't pick it. I'm picking Fitch.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I got to go Fitch as well, but I think Boardman could keep it close. I really do. And this one for my first pick, I really love what Coach Kurtz is doing, and I really love that Columbiana program, but I really do think United, with the way they started against Lisbon, was so impressive. This is going to be tough. In this particular matchup, though, I just have a feeling about United, and I'm going with the Eagles in this one. Just have a feeling.
I was hoping that you were going to pick Columbiana.
Oh, really?
I was ready for that split so hard. And I want to split with you on this one, and I will.
You go in Columbiana, and I think it's a more than fair split in this case too. So this will be interesting, Ant. It'll be interesting. This is going to be a fun game, no doubt.
Same matchup that we see on the baseball diamond on the softball field, Freedom area at Mohawk. I'm going to make this quick. Mohawk not picking against the Banner.
Give me the Hawk, Mohawk.
East at Cardinal Mooney, 5 o'clock first pitch on Field of the Dreams. Mooney all day.
Yeah, give me the Cards.
We have Garfield at Crestview, big one in the MVAC gray tier. Crestview's been able to get more games in. They're kind of more refined. Who you got, though?
Crestview. Give me the View.
I'll take the Rebels as well. LeBray at Brookfield. Brookfield, big win over champion, lost to Crestview. Can they right the ship and start a streak in the MVAC and make a run for that with that title now with all the teams having one loss?
I think the Warriors started tonight. I think they got to start opening up some more eyes too, and I think they're going to continue their momentum. Go Brookfield.
Two big ones in the E8, and it starts with Lakeview at Poland. 5 o'clock first pitch. Battle of the Dogs, softball side. My first pick. Poland.
The View. Give me Lakeview.
It's just a splittable game. It's a splittable game. Middle Ridge at Jackson Milton.
Who? Jackson Milton's won 3 games, I think, right? In less than 24 hours right now.
That's crazy doubleheaders. It's just been like win, 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 win. Mariah Ciccolelli is so happy to be back on the field. Like,
I know.
He was one of those teams like Eric Gruber, just like cancel. And like they could not get a game to save their life.
Who's the home team?
It's at Jackson Milton.
Give me Milton. I'll fly with the Blue Jays on this one.
You know what? I will too. I believe in Jackson Milton. Chelsea Williams hit a home run over the weekend. She's got a good bat. I think the Blue Jays get the win.
We'll see if the Rams are ready though.
Newton Falls at Liberty.
Give me the Falls. Why not?
All right, I'll take Newton Falls as well. The second big matchup in the E8 tonight, it's South Range at Hubbard. Your first pick this time, buddy.
I'm not going to go against what I know. And what I know is that the Raiders are favorites until someone proves otherwise. And Lakeview
do it.
I'm not pulling the trigger otherwise on any other team. Give me the Raiders. Going South Range on it. Oh, is he the villain? Is he the villain for his school? Is he going to get different looks when he walks in the hallways of South Range?
No, give me South Range. Struthers at Niles.
Give me Struthers.
Give me Struthers. Ursuline at West Branch. This game, I believe. Yeah, I feel like Ursuline at West Branch. But I want to remind everyone, I almost said it was canceled. It just got pushed back. It's going to be a 4:45 start time at West Branch. 4:45 first pitch.
Give me
round 2, by the way.
Yeah,
Ursuline won earlier in the season.
Give me West Branch.
This is 2 really good lineups. I think West Branch's pitching has gotten a little bit of a groove so far. They held Marlington to 4. Could have won that game. Went 10 innings. Give me West Branch. I think they'll get the win. And then we have Waterloo and Lowville has been canceled. Girard at Jefferson has been postponed. And Lisbon at Latonia has been postponed. So the last pick of the day comes from the Buckeye 8, and it is Buckeye Local at Beaver Local.
Just give me Beaver Local. Let's ride with the Beavers.
The Beavers. Yep, I'll take them too. Leave it to Beaver. Beaver Cleaver. All that good stuff.
We got to get out of here, though, and we're pushing the clock here. We're pushing time limit. Casual Sports Podcast, I think, is knocking at the door for some airtime.
They're coming up next from 2 to 3, Power Hour from 3 to 4. And then as of now, 12 games on the network tonight. Make sure you catch all of it on ysnlive.com. We're taking a 22-hour break. We'll be back tomorrow with lots of fun stuff on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.